Hey guys, welcome to Rob's Retro Garage. I'm Rob. If this is your first time here, then we're glad to have you. And if you're a returning viewer, then welcome back. As you can see, we are underneath the car today. That orange jack, if you're wondering, is supporting the transmission. I have not removed the transmission yet. You can see the pan poking down from the transmission just behind, and the way we're facing it, just behind and to the right of that orange jack. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about jacking up the Corvette. I don't see anybody putting out any videos about this, and it's probably for liability issues, but I'm going to go ahead and say right now, if you do what I'm doing and you get hurt, it is not my fault. I am an idiot. Do not do things the way that I do them. Do them how you are comfortable with doing them. But that said, we are on the driver's side of the Corvette. There is the driver's side front wheel. The mirror right back there is the driver's side rear wheel. So we are under the Corvette, and we're going to take a look up here. This is the frame rail. The thing that my light is shining on is the frame rail. That thing with the big hole in it right there. That is the frame. The two bolts in front of it, that is the frame rail. And it runs under the car. It's very nasty, isn't it? There's another hole in the frame rail. It was cut that way. It's not rusted, so don't worry about that. And right there is the transmission cross member, that big black greasy thing that the exhaust there goes into. That's my exhaust. That's one of the I can't think of the word for it now, one of the gaskets for the exhaust. So you see the exhaust goes through it. So that's the transmission member. You do not ever want to use that transmission member to jack this thing up. You just do not want to do that. Now, if you look in the owner's manual, the factory assembly manual, or the owner's manual, it will show you where to jack it up at. And it's usually going to be somewhere right where that frame starts to bend. You see how it goes straight right there, and then it slowly starts to bend, and it bends in. So you want to put it somewhere like right in this area right here. And probably because that thing right there underneath that old black piece of rubber is where one of the frame bolts is that holds this thing together. One of 8 bolts that holds the frame onto the body. So I am going to choose to put my jack right about here, right in that general area. And now what I am going to do is, if you look back here toward the transmission, I'm going to put the jack, my hydraulic jack, probably in this area right here. And I'm going to use that to raise this thing up, and then I'm going to put the 3-ton jack that I have right in this area right here. So let's jack this thing up, and I will come back and I will show you where I place the front jack and the rear jack. Hey, I want to use this sort of B-roll footage here of me loosening these lug nuts as sort of a chance for me to give you a tip about taking the wheels off of the car once it's jacked up. We'll get to the jacking up part again here in just a minute. But it's easier, I think, in the long run for you to loosen the lug nuts on each tire before you lift the car off the ground. And the reason for that is you're using the weight of the car to hold the wheel in place, so that you're able to bust the lug nuts free from however much you had them torqued down. And that can be an issue, especially with the front wheels, because the front wheels aren't locked by the transmission. The rear wheels are locked by the transmission. So the front wheels are freely rotating. So you can see here I'm busting them loose. I'm using sort of a star-shaped pattern. I'm just loosening them. I'm not taking them off at this point. I'll take the lug nuts off when the car's up in the air. But so you should do this on each tire, especially if you're going to put them all up in the air. And you can see here that I mentioned the back tire being locked by the transmission. In this case, it's not locked. I have the key in the ignition, and I had the car in neutral. I should have put the car back in park when I did this, but I didn't do that. So that's stupid Rob again, but it served its purpose. I was still able to loosen them just fine, even though the car was rolling just a little bit as I was loosening the lug nuts. So I started with the driver rear, and now we're going to move to the driver front, and I'll loosen them again here. And again, the reason that I did this was it just makes it easier to take the tire off once the car is in the air, because those wheels will rotate if you're trying to break those tight lug nuts free. So anyway, that's tip number 1 for you. And I realized as I was editing this that I don't have any footage of exactly where I'm placing the rear jack stand for the car. I'm placing the rear jack stand just forward, maybe about 5 or 6 inches forward of where the frame starts to bend upwards over the back tire. If you'll look at that picture, in a picture that I posted earlier from the owner's manual, it'll show you that's where you should place the jack stand, and that's where I placed that back jack stand. So I apologize that I don't actually have any up close and personal footage of where that stand exactly is, but you'll see me putting the jack stand under the car at roughly that position. So yeah. Anyway, I hope that this helps you when you're doing this. If you've never done this before, like me, you know, it's a journey, right? It's not a destination. It's a journey. So anyway, I hope that this helps. Okay, gang, I'm not entirely happy with this. You can see that one's sitting on there pretty good, and that one's on there pretty good. If we go over here to this side, that one's on there pretty good, but this one is not. So the car is not completely leveled. It looks like about, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch, maybe? Not quite a half. Let's see, you can see so I think I'm going to put that stand under it. I'm not entirely happy with that one as a primary and that one as a backup, but I'd rather have that one as the backup than that one as a backup. So let's put that one under there. I raised it 2 notches. We'll try and stick it under there and we'll see if it holds up. Okay, Idiot Rob back. I figured out, I think, why the back is lower than the front is. See how far that tire is off the ground? And that one's practically sitting on it. It's not. But this one over here is. And that one up there is up. So I think what I'm going to have to do is lower those front jacks to probably their lowest position and let the back ride higher than the front, because the back is heavier than the front now because the engine is out. So the weight is in the back. The big chunky suspension, the diff, the gas tank, and the bumper makes it heavier than the front. So for me to balance this and be safe with it, I need to lower the front, and then I need to take the rear wheels off first, then take the front wheels off so that it's still balanced. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna jack this back up. I'm gonna let that down, and then I'm gonna go to the other side. I'm gonna let that jack stand down, and I'm gonna go to the other side and do the same thing, and we'll see how the outcome is. Okay, well, I got them off. That's the rear, that's the front. Look up here. See, I put the nuts back, the lug nuts back on that one. Go over here. Again, there's the front with the lug nuts on. There's the front tire, the back tire, and the back with the lug nuts on. So part 1 accomplished. Now I can start taking the front apart and start getting the suspension apart and refreshing all that stuff. Yay.